Hey guys, this is learning target 14, solving using square roots. Okay, so this is going to be, again, we're finding solutions, okay, like we did in the last video. However, this is not going to be in factored form, it's going to be in standard form. One other thing that you're going to notice in these examples is there's no middle term. And when I say middle term, basically there's no x term. Or you could say b term. Remember this, the generic form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So it's essentially just missing. So there's no term that just has an x next to it. So let's just get into some examples and I think you'll get an idea of what I mean. All right, so let's take a look at our first one here. We want to find the solutions, right? And remember, what are the solutions? It's when our output would equal 0. So we want to set this equal to 0, kind of like we did with zero product property yesterday. And we basically just want to solve this, right? So if we were to solve this for the x, we would add 9, add our constant to both sides. Okay, so this would be 9 equals x squared. Okay, and if you remember a while back in class, we did this a little bit with square roots, solving using square roots with Pythagorean theorem. So it's kind of that same idea. We can figure out what the x value would be by taking the square root of both sides, because really square root just basically cancels out a square. Okay, and so then this would be x equals the plus minus thing. And that came up a little bit before. What does that mean? Again, what exactly does that mean? This is just a way of writing two solutions, right? There's a positive answer, right? And then there's also a negative answer. So essentially there's two solutions here. X could be 3 or it could be negative 3, okay? And you know, what would that look like on a graph? Just kind of squeeze that in here real quick, right? We would have a solution here and we would have a solution here. And we know this is upward facing. We also know this is a y-intercept, right? So we know, we really have a lot of good information to be able to graph this. So this would look like that. And you could always throw it into Desmos too, just to see, you know, if it matches what you think it should look like. Okay, so those would be our two solutions. All right, let's take a look at another one. Right here, this actually doesn't even have a c term, right? It's just going to be the ax squared term. And so we'll just go ahead and solve it. Set it equal to 0. Okay, so what would we do first in this one? Well, we would go ahead and just get rid of that coefficient, 5. So we could divide both sides by 5. 0 divided by 5 is just going to be 0. So that would be x squared. Take the square root of both sides. X would equal positive and negative 0. Really? Just 0, right? And I mean, you might have even noticed that from the very beginning. What's the only value that is going to give us an output of 0? And that's just if this is 0, right? There's no term out here to change anything, so it's just going to be 0. Okay, and then what would it look like on a graph? X equals 0. I mean, this is going to be one that's just kind of, right, just kind of going up from the origin there. Okay, all right, let's try another one. Set it equal to 0. Add 32. So this would be 32 equals 2x squared. Divide by 2. 16 equals x squared. And take the square root of both sides. X would equal positive and also negative 4. So those would be my two solutions. And if we were to graph that, again, you know where those would hit, kind of similar to that top one. They would hit at positive 4 and also where x is negative 4. And then again, there's our y-intercept, so that gives you some good information too. Okay, let's try another one. 0 equals x squared plus 25. Okay, subtract 25. Subtract 25. Negative 25 equals x squared. Square root of both sides. square root. Square root of negative 25. So what number multiplied by itself will give you negative 25? Negative 5 multiplied by negative 5, positive 25. Negative 5 multiplied by 5, not the same number. They're actually opposites. Is there a number that would give us negative 25 when we multiply it by itself? The answer is no, right? And I think we've talked about this a little bit. This is an imaginary number. There's not a number that would work for this. Okay, so what do you think that means? You got it. No x-intercept, right? And if we really look at this a little closer, what does this tell us? At plus 25, that we're going to have a y-intercept way up here at positive 25. And what's our a value? Positive or negative? Positive. What does that mean? When the a value is positive, remember it's upward facing. So if I have a y-intercept at positive 25, and I know my u-shape is facing upwards, is there any way it's ever going to touch the x-axis? No, right? So whenever you run into a situation like this, that should tell you that there's no x-intercept. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So go ahead and give the practice a try, and thanks for watching.